Welcome everybody to Automaton, automated monitoring for revenue operations. Our platform monitors your website, marketing, and sales tech stack to ensure the data is flowing as expected. Think of us as the PagerDuty or New Relic for marketers. Whether from a lack of training, software updates, unmanaged integrations, or just simple human error, mistakes happen, and mistakes can go unnoticed for weeks or even months. In many organizations, ops teams are spending thousands of hours, like they did at Microsoft, in proactive testing. Worst case, they're spending thousands of hours putting out fires. Automaton was built to remedy those two situations. To borrow well-known concepts from the software development world, we make it easy for our users to perform a smoke or regression test with their users. We also make it easy to approve an ABM campaign, for example, from a field marketer. Now, this is a representation of a marketing operations tech stack at SAP. Everyone's pretty familiar with what this looks like today. All of marketing and sales tools have added an explosive growth of complexity. Combine that with siloed teams and projects, communications are bound to break off. We've tried several models to rein in this complexity as marketing professionals. We combined marketing operations and sales operations for revenue operations. We brought in the web team and brought in the field marketers and created a circle of excellence. However, none of that really solved the communication barriers, and accidents and mistakes still happen. The one thing we have not done as marketers to rein in the complexity is to create automated testing to ensure that we're notified when something breaks and that we don't get pinged from our cohort in the sales team asking if, quote, the lead system is still down, quote. Now, this is a small sampling of companies that we work with. Typically, a company or organization that we work with has someone like a senior director or vice president of marketing operations. And they'll typically have between 5 and 50 people working with them. They've also typically invested in 2 or more marketing tools like Marketo, Eloqua, On24, or SalesLoft. We've based our pricing on usage, which we hope represents the value that you are getting. A small plan would be a single use case and testing 1 or 2 integrations, like Marketo and the web, and maybe email. The medium plan is built for 3 or more integrations, like Drift and Marketo, and if you're overseeing a global operations team and have several campaign managers testing their campaigns. With a large plan, you can think of it as a global demand center, someone that's been up on stage at Sirius. You have 4 or more integrations, hundreds of thousands of leads a month, thousands of assets, and dozens of campaign managers. Now, we're about to show you our demo, and we're going to highlight 3 things. The first is real-time monitoring. Real-time monitoring is ensuring exceptions are logged, SLAs are adhered to, and your stakeholders maintain visibility. Effectively, we're watching the lead as it flows through the system from the web page to Marketo or your behavior score system, lead scoring, any other campaign attributes into your Salesforce lead queue, where the sales development rep or sales rep will then disposition. Now, not everything is created, not every monitoring system works with leads. So we also have the ability to get alerts. So you can get notified when something goes down within your stack. Like if the team's migrating their web pages or working on a web page and they have to bring it down momentarily, you can get notified on that to make sure that it's going back up. Then we're going to show you testing. We're going to show you a simple campaign to show you just how easy it is to get started with the application. Now we're in the demo instance of Automaton. And today we're going to be following our hero, Peter Parker, as he goes about his days at Horizon Labs as a VP of Marketing Operations. Peter has 4 counterparts. He has a VP of Sales Operations, VP of ABM campaigns, Strategic Enterprise ABM campaigns, and he has a counterpart on the web ops teams. Together they form the circle of excellence. Now, before we go into Peter's day, I just want to give you a quick orientation. So what we're looking at here is sort of our entire status for these different functional groups. We provide an overview of the last 60 days, how much reliability we've had. Over here, we show how many runs our organizations run, any problems that we're having today. And up here at the top, we can see that we can always create a scenario, look at the scenarios we've created, and a scenario in automaton language is just a series of actions that create a test. We'll go into that a little bit deeper later, but for now, that's enough explanation. We can always see the connections that we've made with our platform. Now, connections in an automaton consist of one of four things. The first is a native integration. So think Marketo or Salesforce we have native integrations with, API, SalesLoft or Drift, webhook for companies that maybe we don't have a native integration or a robust API for, and then finally we have email. We of course have an admin console where you can add users, take away user, email preferences, distribution lists, etc. So now we're turning back to our hero, Peter Parker. He got an email on his way into work today, 5 minutes out from the station. He hasn't even had a chance to grab coffee. He understands that for some reason, the enterprise ABM campaign, the one that we're spending $10,000 a month for, it's not directing to the right web page. He doesn't know why. He saw the error on his email. So he comes into the office, sits down, immediately starts to dig in. Here's that enterprise ad campaign that he has in the system. You can see that it definitely has stopped working. And our robots are showing him that the site is not being able to be resolved, giving a 404 error. Now, Peter does remember that the web team said that they were going to do some website migration this weekend, and that's probably what happened here. But they promised him every web page was going to go back up. So he's quickly emailing the web ops team to turn that back on the page. Now, the reason it also didn't probably hit the web team's monitoring software was because if they turned off the website, then the web monitoring software thinks that it's supposed to be off and doesn't think that there's an error. But because this was such a high value ad campaign, Peter thought that he should just have it checked no matter what. And this is running on the outside public facing internet so that there's nothing inside that will have to break it. Well, the web teams emailed him back and they said, "You're right, we're sorry, we forgot to turn it back on." It's now turned on, and then Peter's gonna go and verify this. So our robots have now verified that it's back on. And as you can see, we filled out the robots have navigated to the page, filled out fictitious information, doubling down on the fictitious information in case an overzealous sales development rep wants to call anybody. And then what we're doing is we're also deleting that lead out of the system as not to mess with any of your metrics. Well, in 30 seconds, Peter was able to sort of save the budget of the team, so he feels very relieved. Now he's gonna go get a cup of coffee, and the second thing that he's been tasked to do by his VP of Revenue Operations is ensure the SLAs are happening for the sales team. Now, a lot of companies measure the SLAs. Horizon Lab happens to be a very big volume velocity, serious decisions waterfall company. They have offices around the world. And their CRO has said, we should call everybody within 10 minutes from them filling out a form to them to getting a phone call. Now, what most companies do is once it hits Salesforce, they build a report and a dashboard. Now, in my opinion, that's a little bit of a cheat. And the reason is because like any good admin, Peter knows that it can get stuck in different parts of the system. It can get stuck in Marketo. It can get routed to the wrong sales queue. It can get routed to the wrong country. Validation rules can always happen. Behavior scores can get messed up. So Peter's always looking on top to make sure that everything's going. Now the sales team seems like they're doing pretty well. Uh-oh. there seems to be a few problems. So the team looks like they're not able to call back within that 10 minutes. That's concerning. It's not every lead, so it seems to be one of the maybe one or two individuals or maybe one sales team. So Peter's now going to go investigate that. So Peter's now investigated it. He's emailed the VP of commercial sales to let him know that they're going to be bringing this up at the weekly Circle of Excellence meeting. Overall, though, they've done a good job, and that he thinks this is behind them. So now Peter's had an eventful day. He's going to sit down. He has some testing to do. There's a new site going up, and he just wants to do a quick smoke test to understand, are all the components there? Is it sort of accepting it, and is it getting dropped into the database? So we're going to help him create that test right now. Now, I mentioned at the beginning, a scenario is just a series of steps to help create a test. And while that's true, it actually, every scenario actually has 5 components: a catalyst, an input, the frequency, an output, and validation. And we'll walk through those as we create this test. Now, we have a number of starters. Think of them like recipes to help guide you along your way. Anywhere from Google Analytics to ensuring our floodlight tag, checking a form delete from Marketo, and checking, Marketo munching check, as well as form delete. So we've provided a few number of recipes. Today I'm feeling bold. We're going to create a recipe, or we're going to create a scenario from scratch. Now, when I said the first component was a catalyst, think of that as the customer journey. What is the thing that's going to change that we're going to go test or validate? If we'd like to go test a form fill, that's the submit the form is going to be the catalyst. Sometimes it can be just the behavior change can also just be a behavior score change in Marketo, or it can be lead routing within Salesforce. So the first thing we need to do is we need to tell the system we'd like to navigate to a web page. Now, the system's intelligent, and it will suggest what are the most popular things for me to do on it. I can fill out a submit form. I can check the Google Analytics page view. I can check to see that the playbook fired, or I can check that the message was received. That's exciting. I'm going to go ahead and fill out that submit form. Now, the second piece of component is going to be this input. Now, an input always has attributes, and those attributes are everything that we're very well familiar with: first name, last name, email, company. Now, we do a dynamic token so that we don't hit any of your duplicate lead checks, etc., as we're moving throughout the system, because we wouldn't want that to happen. So we always do a randomly generated text. Now, for a simple form fill, we're almost done. But if I wanted to go on and make this more complex, I've got additional options over here on the side. And of course, as things get more complex, I've got more and more tokens that will show up to help guide me through this. Now I've done the catalyst. I'm going to submit a form. The input is that first name, last name, company. And now I need to think about frequency. Now, there's 3 different types of frequencies. I can either do it ad hoc. I only just want to do it once. I can schedule it, anywhere from 5 minutes to once a month, or I can do it, or I can have it test in real time and do a real-time monitor. So those are the 3 different scenarios. For now, we're going to keep this as we are. Now, the fourth one is what sort of output. So I can do text, email, or just the dashboard. I always we can add it to a distribution list, or I can just have a little grouping called Neil's Alerts. Now, the last component of the scenario is the validation. What would I like it to do? Now, in most cases, we want it to validate and pass and say that we've been able to do something. There's one instance where I can think of that our customers use where we don't want it to sort of pass. And when we have a campaign launch, say a campaign launch is in 2 weeks, it's a massive global launch, all the pages are put up in staging, we have not hit live. I don't know about you, but at every company I've worked at, someone's always hit the live button before it was supposed to go live. Maybe that's just my companies. Maybe we just didn't have that quality control. Maybe it doesn't happen at your companies. So that's one idea of a validation. But usually we're looking to see, did we pass? So we can see that it was successfully complete. So Peter's now sitting down at lunch and he's feeling very good about himself. He had the alerts set up on all the pay-per-click ads to ensure that nothing was going down. They were running once a day. He found something wrong. He's fixed that, remedied that. It wasn't even 9 a.m. Pats himself on the back. Check the real-time leads. The sales team starting to slip. It might be because of new management, who knows? But he can now have an information at his fingertips, and he's making sure that every lead that goes to the system, nothing's breaking. The third one, he's now tested out a smoke test on a form fill for some other campaign work he's going to do this after. So all in all, not a bad morning for Peter. And as he reflects, marketing ops sits at this sort of crucial juncture. We've got the web team, we have the sales team, and our systems and data touch all of them. And we have this purview of watching all that data come through our systems. Now, we don't have responsibility for those systems, but we still have accountability. We're still being held responsible to ensure leads are accounted for and the attribution is correct. I can't tell you how many times I've sat in on Circle of Excellence meetings when everybody's trying to figure out if the attribution is correct and sort of assigning values which they believe to be correct on the attribution without any knowledge of really whether it was working or not and whether it fired at the right time. And gosh jolly, how did that 5th or 6th campaign suddenly fall to 8th or 9th place? Wasn't it producing much more leads? So I think we've all been to those Circle of Excellence meetings. Automaton was built to make the marketing ops job much more easier, make you much more faster, and have you much more confidence in your system. My name is Neil Harrington. Thank you very much for watching our demo.